The morning sun barely broke through the heavy clouds over Detroit, Michigan, casting a gray light over the Sullivan household. Inside the modest two-story home in the Midtown neighborhood, 22-year-old Marcus Sullivan stood in front of the bathroom mirror, adjusting his tie for the 10th time. His hands trembled slightly as he tried to get the knot just right. Today was the day he had been waiting for. His first day working at Henderson Construction, one of the most respected construction companies in the state. Marcus had spent the last 4 years studying civil engineering at Wayne State University while working part-time at a local grocery store to help with expenses. His mother, Carol, had always believed in him, encouraging him through late-night study sessions and moments of doubt. But his father, Robert Sullivan, a retired auto worker who had spent 30 years on the Ford assembly line, had a different perspective on things. Robert believed in hard work, but he also believed that praise should be earned through years of dedication, not handed out on the first day. "Marcus, breakfast is ready." Carol's voice echoed from downstairs, warm and encouraging as always. Marcus took one last look at himself, smoothed down his shirt, and headed down to the kitchen. The smell of bacon and eggs filled the air, and his mother stood by the stove with a proud smile on her face. "Look at you, all dressed up and ready to take on the world," she said, her eyes glistening with emotion. Robert sat at the kitchen table, hidden behind the morning edition of the Detroit Free Press, a cup of black coffee steaming beside him. He barely glanced up when Marcus entered. "First day, huh?" he muttered, not looking away from the sports section. "Don't expect them to throw you a parade. You show up, you do your work, and you keep your mouth shut until you know what you're doing." Marcus felt a familiar weight settle in his chest. No matter what he accomplished, his father always seemed to diminish it. When he graduated with honors, Robert had said, "Lots of people graduate. Now comes the real test." When he got the job at Henderson Construction, his father's only response had been, "Let's see if you can keep it." Carol shot Robert a disapproving look, but as usual she said nothing. She had learned long ago that arguing with Robert about his parenting style only led to tension that could last for days. Marcus sat down and tried to eat, but his stomach was too tight with nerves. "I'm just hoping I can make a good impression today," he said quietly. Robert finally lowered his newspaper and looked at his son with hard, tired eyes. "A good impression is made over months, not days." "Don't get ahead of yourself, kid. You're the new guy. You're nobody until you prove otherwise." The words stung, but Marcus had grown used to them. He nodded, finished his orange juice, and grabbed his lunch that Carol had carefully packed for him. She walked him to the door, placed both hands on his shoulders, and looked him straight in the eyes. "You're going to do amazing, sweetheart. I believe in you." Marcus hugged her tightly, grateful for at least one parent who saw his potential. If you want to keep following stories about real people overcoming real challenges and finding their worth, subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell, because every story here shows that your value doesn't depend on others' approval, and you deserve to see that truth. The drive to the Henderson construction site in Dearborn took about 25 minutes through the familiar streets of Detroit. Marcus passed the old factories, the revitalized downtown area, and the neighborhoods that had seen both decline and renewal. He thought about his father's words, trying not to let them settle too deep. He knew Robert meant well in his own harsh way, believing that low expectations protected people from disappointment. But Marcus wanted more than protection. He wanted encouragement. He arrived at the construction site at 7:30 in the morning, 15 minutes early. The site was already bustling with activity. Workers in hard hats and reflective vests moved with purpose, operating machinery, carrying materials, and shouting instructions over the noise of drills and hammers. The project was a new mixed-use development, residential units on top, commercial space below, and it was one of the biggest contracts Henderson Construction had landed in years. Marcus reported to the site office, a temporary trailer near the entrance. Inside, he was greeted by Jennifer Martinez, the project manager, a woman in her mid-40s with sharp eyes and an air of quiet authority. "You must be Marcus Sullivan," she said, extending her hand. "We've been expecting you. Your resume impressed us. Let's see if you live up to it." Marcus shook her hand firmly, feeling a surge of determination. "I won't let you down, ma'am." Jennifer introduced him to his direct supervisor, Kyle Brennan, a gruff but fair foreman who had been in construction for over 20 years. Kyle handed Marcus a hard hat and a vest. "You're going to be working with the team on structural inspections and site measurements today. Pay attention, ask questions when you need to, but don't waste time. We're on a tight schedule." Marcus nodded eagerly. "Understood, sir." The work was immediately demanding. Marcus spent the morning double-checking measurements for foundation placements, ensuring that everything aligned with the engineering blueprints. It was tedious, precise work that required focus and attention to detail. He worked alongside experienced crew members who tested him with quick questions and watched to see if he could keep up. Marcus didn't just keep up, he excelled, catching a measurement discrepancy that could have caused issues later on. "Good eye, kid," one of the senior workers said, giving him an approving nod. Marcus felt a rush of pride. By lunch, he had already made several small but important contributions. He ate his sandwich alone near the trailers, watching the organized chaos of the site, feeling like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. In the afternoon, Jennifer Martinez walked the site with the company's owner, Thomas Henderson, a man in his early 60s with silver hair and a reputation for being tough but fair. Thomas had built Henderson Construction from the ground up and prided himself on recognizing talent. As they passed by where Marcus was working, Thomas paused. "Who's that?" he asked Jennifer. "New hire, Marcus Sullivan. First day. Civil engineering degree from Wayne State. He's been solid so far." Thomas watched as Marcus carefully rechecked a set of calculations, then consulted with Kyle before proceeding. There was something about the young man's focus and humility that caught his attention. "Keep an eye on him," Thomas said quietly. "I like what I'm seeing." By the end of the day, Marcus was exhausted but exhilarated. He had survived his first day, and he had done well. As he drove home, he couldn't wait to tell his parents. He imagined his father's face, hoping that maybe, just maybe, Robert would offer a word of praise. When he walked through the door that evening, Carol rushed to greet him. "How was it? Tell me everything." Marcus grinned. "It was incredible, Mom. I really think I did well. The project manager even noticed me." Robert was in the living room, watching the evening news. Marcus walked in, still riding the high of the day. "Dad, I wanted to tell you, it went really well. I caught a measurement error that could have been a big problem. My supervisor said I had a good eye." Robert glanced at him briefly, then back at the television. "One day doesn't mean anything. Let's see how you do after a month. Don't get cocky." The joy drained from Marcus's face. Carol, who had followed him into the room, looked at Robert with barely concealed frustration. "Robert, for once, can't you just be happy for him?" Robert shrugged. "I'm being realistic. The world doesn't hand out trophies for showing up." Marcus felt the familiar ache of disappointment. He nodded silently and went upstairs to his room, where he sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the wall. The following weeks continued in much the same pattern. Marcus worked hard every single day, impressing his supervisors and co-workers with his work ethic, his knowledge, and his willingness to learn. He stayed late when needed, volunteered for difficult tasks, and quickly became a valued member of the team. Thomas Henderson began to notice him more and more, occasionally stopping by to observe his work or ask him questions about his approach to problems. But at home, Robert remained unmoved. Every achievement Marcus shared was met with dismissal or a reminder not to get ahead of himself. When Marcus mentioned that Kyle had praised his initiative, Robert said, "Praise is cheap. Results are what matter." When Marcus told him that he had been asked to assist with a complex structural assessment, Robert responded, "Don't screw it up." Carol tried to compensate with extra encouragement, but the absence of his father's approval weighed heavily on Marcus. One afternoon, about 6 weeks into the job, Thomas Henderson called Marcus into the site office. Marcus's heart raced, wondering if he had made a mistake, but when he entered, Thomas was smiling. "Sit down, Marcus. I wanted to talk to you." Marcus sat, his palms sweaty. Thomas leaned back in his chair, studying him. "You've been here 6 weeks, and I've been watching you. You work harder than people who've been here for years. You care about quality. You respect the team. That's rare in someone your age." Marcus didn't know what to say. "Thank you, sir. I just want to do my best." Thomas nodded. "I know you do, and that's why I'm promoting you. I want you to assist Jennifer directly on project coordination. It's a significant step up, and it comes with a raise. You've earned it." Marcus could hardly believe what he was hearing. "Sir, I don't know what to say. Thank you, I won't let you down." That evening, Marcus practically burst through the front door, eager to share the news. Carol was cooking dinner, and the aroma of her famous meatloaf filled the house. "Mom, you won't believe what happened." He told her everything, and she cried tears of joy, hugging him tightly. "I'm so proud of you, baby. You deserve this." Robert was in the garage working on an old car engine, his usual refuge. Marcus walked out, his excitement barely contained. "Dad, I have some news." Robert didn't look up from the engine. "What is it?" Marcus took a breath. "I got promoted today. Mr. Henderson himself told me. I'm going to be assisting the project manager directly, and I'm getting a raise." For a moment there was silence except for the clink of tools. Then Robert straightened up, wiped his hands on a rag, and looked at his son. "Promoted after 6 weeks?" His tone was skeptical. "What did you do, kiss up to the boss?" The words hit Marcus like a punch to the gut. "No, Dad. I worked hard. I earned it." Robert shook his head. 6 weeks is nothing. They probably just need someone to do extra work and figured you'd be eager enough to say yes. Don't let it go to your head. Marcus felt something break inside him. All the weeks of trying to prove himself, all the hope that his father would finally see his worth, it all crumbled. "Why can't you just be happy for me? Just once?" Robert's expression hardened. "I'm trying to prepare you for the real world, son. The real world doesn't care about your feelings. It'll chew you up and spit you out if you're not careful." Marcus's voice shook. "Maybe the problem isn't the world, Dad. Maybe it's you." He turned and walked back into the house, leaving Robert standing alone in the garage. If you've ever felt like your efforts go unnoticed by the people who matter most, write in the comments, "I see my own worth." Let me know you're here, and let's build a community that recognizes and celebrates real effort. The tension in the Sullivan household grew thick over the following days. Marcus threw himself into his new responsibilities, working even longer hours, determined to prove that his promotion was deserved. Jennifer Martinez was an excellent mentor, teaching him the intricacies of project management, budget oversight, and client relations. Marcus soaked up every lesson, grateful for someone who believed in his potential. One morning, about 2 weeks after the promotion, Thomas Henderson approached Marcus during a site walk. "Marcus, I need to talk to you about something important." They stepped into the office trailer, and Thomas closed the door. "I had an interesting conversation yesterday. Your father called me." Marcus's blood ran cold. What?" Thomas sat down and gestured for Marcus to do the same. "He wanted to know if you had really earned your promotion or if I was doing you a favor. He seemed concerned that you might be getting special treatment." Marcus felt humiliation wash over him. "Mr. Henderson, I'm so sorry. I had no idea he would—" Thomas held up his hand. "Let me finish. I told your father exactly what I think. I told him that you're one of the most dedicated young employees I've seen in 30 years of running this company. I told him that your promotion was based solely on merit and performance, and I told him that if he couldn't see the quality of his own son's character and work ethic, then that was his failure, not yours." Tears stung Marcus's eyes. He had never had someone defend him like that, especially not to his own father. "What did he say?" Thomas shrugged. "Not much. He thanked me and hung up. But I want you to know something, Marcus. Your worth isn't determined by whether your father can see it. It's determined by the work you do, the integrity you show, and the person you choose to be. I see it. Jennifer sees it. Your team sees it. That's what matters." Marcus wiped his eyes quickly. "Thank you, sir. That means everything to me." Thomas stood and placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "You're going places, son. Don't let anyone, including your father, make you doubt that." The conversation changed something fundamental in Marcus. He realized that he had been seeking his father's approval as if it were the ultimate measure of his success. But Thomas was right. His worth existed independent of Robert's ability to recognize it. That evening, Marcus came home to find his father sitting alone at the kitchen table, a cup of coffee in front of him. Carol was upstairs. Robert looked up when Marcus entered, and for the first time, Marcus saw something different in his father's eyes. Not quite shame, but something close to it. "I talked to your boss today," Robert said quietly. Marcus nodded. "I know. He told me." There was a long silence. Finally, Robert spoke again, his voice rough. "He said some things that got me thinking." Marcus waited, unsure where this was going. Robert took a deep breath. "When I was your age, I started working at Ford. My old man never gave me a word of encouragement either. Said the same things I say to you. Don't get cocky. Work speaks for itself. All that. I thought I was protecting you the same way, toughening you up." Marcus sat down across from his father. "But it doesn't toughen me up, Dad. It just makes me feel like I'm never good enough." Robert's jaw tightened. "Your boss told me you're exceptional. He said you work harder than people twice your age. He said I should be proud." Robert looked directly at his son, and Marcus saw moisture in the older man's eyes. "And he's right. I should be. I am. I don't know how to say it." never learned how. It wasn't a complete apology, and it didn't erase years of feeling unseen, but it was something. It was a crack in the wall that Robert had built around his emotions. Marcus's voice was steady when he spoke. "I don't need you to change who you are, Dad. I just need you to see me. Really see me." Robert nodded slowly. "I'm trying, son. I'm trying." Over the next several months, the relationship between Marcus and his father didn't transform overnight, but small changes began to appear. Robert started asking about Marcus's projects, actually listening to the answers. He showed up at the construction site one day unannounced and watched his son work from a distance. When Marcus noticed him, Robert gave a small nod, not effusive praise but acknowledgement. It was a start. Marcus continued to excel at Henderson Construction. Within a year, he was managing his own small projects. Within 2 years, he was leading major developments. Thomas Henderson became both a mentor and a father figure, teaching Marcus not just about construction, but about leadership, integrity, and recognizing the potential in others. Marcus never forgot the lesson he learned during those difficult early months, that seeking approval from those unable to give it was a losing game, but finding people who truly saw his value could change everything. One autumn afternoon, 3 years after that first day of work, Henderson Construction held a ceremony to celebrate the completion of a major downtown renovation project that Marcus had led from start to finish. The project had come in under budget and ahead of schedule, earning praise from city officials and recognition in the local press. Thomas Henderson stood before the assembled team and guests, giving a speech about excellence and dedication. "This project represents the best of what we do at Henderson Construction," Thomas said, "and it was led by someone who embodies our values completely. Marcus Sullivan started here as a junior engineer, and through sheer determination and talent, he's become one of our most trusted project leaders. I'm proud to announce that Marcus is being promoted to Senior Project Manager, making him the youngest person in company history to hold this position." The room erupted in applause. Marcus stood, shaking hands with colleagues, accepting congratulations, feeling genuinely proud of what he had accomplished. But what meant the most was seeing his mother in the front row, tears streaming down her face, and next to her, his father. Robert Sullivan was standing, clapping, and when Marcus caught his eye, Robert did something he had rarely done. He smiled, a real, genuine smile of pride. After the ceremony, as people mingled and celebrated, Robert approached his son. The two men stood facing each other, years of complicated history between them. "You did good, Marcus," Robert said, his voice thick with emotion. "Real good. I should have said that 3 years ago. I should have said it a lot of times, but I'm saying it now. I'm proud of you, son." Marcus felt years of seeking his father's approval finally come to fruition, but he also realized something important. He no longer needed it the way he once did. He had found his worth through his own efforts, through the recognition of mentors like Thomas, and through proving to himself that he was capable. His father's pride was a gift, not a necessity. "Thanks, Dad," Marcus said, embracing his father. "That means a lot." Carol joined them, wrapping her arms around both men. "My 2 favorite guys," she said, laughing through her tears. The Sullivan family stood together, imperfect but trying, learning that approval withheld can hurt, but approval given, even late, can heal. If you watched this entire story and it resonated with you, leave a comment saying, "I watched until the end," so I can get to know you and recognize who truly appreciates the stories on this channel. And if this story touched your heart, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear that their worth isn't determined by others' approval. It's determined by who they choose to be and the effort they put into their dreams. Subscribe for more real stories about real people overcoming real challenges, because everyone deserves to see themselves as valuable, regardless of who can or cannot see it.